All right. So, lesson 94. Let's jump into some long division. Read the problem. The problem is read 1,367 divided by 59. I repeat, 1,367 divided by 59. The first digit of the answer is shown right here. Remember the steps for the ones digit of the answer. The first thing you need to do is bring down the ones digit, because here we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. We've already done this much of the problem. What's left is the ones column. So the first step is just to bring that number down. Now, what's our new number that we're dividing 59 by? 187. Say our new equation. Our new equation is 187 divided by 59. So the estimation problem for 187 divided by 59 is 19 divided by 6. To explain that, this number rounds up to 190, giving us 19 tens. This number rounds up to 60, giving us 6 tens. So our estimation problem for 187 divided by 59 is 19 divided by 6. Here's our estimation problem. And what is 19 divided by 6 equal? It equals 3. We know there's a remainder there, but we're just trying to solve for the closest number. It's an estimation. So what is 19 divided by 6? The closest we can get is 3. So we're going to plug that in over here for the ones column, because that's what we're working towards. So now let's solve. 23 times 59. We're going to plug that in down here because we need to balance this out now. So now we need to work 59 times 3, equaling 177. Where does this answer go? This answer gets plugged into the bottom right here because we're doing 23 times 59. So we're just multiplying the 3 by it, 3 times 59, plugging it in down here, giving us 177. Now we need to find the difference of 187 and 177. What is it when you subtract these two? The answer you get is 10. 10 is our remainder, so we put it over here. And don't forget, our denominator for our fraction is always the number we divide by. Whatever number here is our denominator over here. So our answer is 23 and 10/59. Now please open your workbook to lesson 94 and find part 1. The problem for the first digit of the answer is already worked for both problems. You'll work the problem for the ones digit. Both problems have a remainder. Problem A says 996 divided by 43. What's the first thing you do? The first thing you're going to do is bring down the ones column. Bring down the ones digit. Do that now. Let me switch over to my whiteboard to help you out. So problem A says 996 divided by 43. The first problem being worked is 99 divided by 43, which is 2, because that is 86. Subtracting. So getting us all caught up. The first thing I need to do is bring down this 6, giving us 136. And what are we doing with that? We're going to divide it by 43, this number right here. So our estimation problem for that Remember, we need to round. 136 rounds up to 140, giving us 14 tens, and 43 rounds down to 40, giving us 4 tens. So our equation is 14 divided by 4. 14 divided by 4. And what is the closest thing we can get from 14 divided by 4? 3, because that equals 12. So where do I plug that in? I'm going to plug this 3 in right here. Now I need to work the problem 3 times 43. Times 3. What does that equal? 129. Where do I put this number? I'm going to put this number underneath here so I can find out the difference. And what is 136 minus 129? That equals 7. So let's pause. Share. Here. There. So let's check our answer. Our answer, correct, 23 and 7/3. Our remainder, 7/43, sorry. 7 is our remainder, going over our denominator, which is always the number we divide by. This number, always our denominator. Just like the previous one, 59, 59. Now we have 43, 43. So what is our answer of 996 divided by 43? The answer of 996 divided by 43 is 23 and 7/43. Go ahead and do problem B on your own. Pause the video now to work it. Resume the video when you're ready. Here's the answer that you should have. 31 and 30/87. Now let's switch gears over to balance beams. Find part 2 in your workbook. For each problem, you'll figure out the average for the left side. Then you'll show the same total distance on the other side by showing all the weights at the average distance, just like we did in lesson 93. So problem A, figure out the average distance for the weights on the left side. Let's pull up the whiteboard. So let's figure out the average for beam A. The numbers the weights are on 9, 8, and 1. Let's add those up. 9, 8, and 1. Adding those all up. Well, we have 8 plus 1, which equals 9, and 9 plus 9 is 18. So what do I divide that by? The number of weights we have. And how many weights do we have there? We have 3 weights, 1, 2, 3. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. So our average is 6. So where are we going to place 3 weights on the right-hand side of the beam? We're going to place it on the 6 because that is our average. Just like so. 9, 8, and 1, our average here is 6, right here. So on the right-hand side, we're going to place 3 weights as well, but only on the 6, our average number. Now problem B. Problem B, figure out the average now. Pause the video. The numbers you have on problem B are 10, 8, and 2 on 5. Note that you have 2 weights on 5. So our total that we have is 10 plus 8 plus 5 plus 5, giving us a total of 28. On the left-hand side, we have 28. And how many weights do we have on the left-hand side that we need to divide by? We have 4. There's 1 on 10, 1 on 8, and 2 on 5. Notice there's 2 weights on 5, giving us a total of 4. So you're going to divide 28 by 4. And what is 28 divided by 4? 28 divided by 4 equals 7. Our average on the left-hand side for letter B is 7. So where are we going to put the weights on the right-hand side? We're going to put the weights on the 7 on the right-hand side, just like so. How many weights? 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we have 4 weights on the left-hand side. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's move to fraction multiplication. You've learned that if you multiply a fraction by less than 1, you end up with less than what you start with. I repeat, you've learned that if you multiply a fraction by less than 1, you end up with less than what you start with. If you multiply the fraction by more than 1, you end up with more than what you start with. If you multiply the fraction by 1, what do you end up with? You end up with the same value that you start with. They will equal each other. So here's something. We're going to make diagrams of the fractions and see if the rules work. Please read the problem that you see. The problem here says 1/2 times 2/3. Is 2/3 more than 1, less than 1, or equal to 1? 2/3 is less than 1 because you only have 2 out of 3. So will we end up with more than half or less than half? We're going to end up with less than half. This answer is going to be less than half, less than this number right here, because this is less than 1. So what's the fraction that we'll end up with right here if we multiply straight across? We're going to end up with 2/6. Here's our fractions as an example. Here is what 1/2 looks like, and here is what 2/6 looks like. Now you can see that this is still greater than this number because you multiplied by a number that's less than 1. This is less than this. Now, here's a different example. Read this one. 1/2 times 3/3. So is 3/3 more than 1, less than 1, or equal to 1? 3/3 is equal to 1. So we'll end up with a value that is equal to 1/2. So what is the fraction we'll end up with right here once we've multiplied? The fraction we're going to end up with is 3/6. Here's an example. Notice just as much is shaded with 1/2 as 3/6. They're the same. They equal each other because we're multiplying by 1. Because if you multiply 1 by any other number, it's itself. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. 1/2 times 3/3, which is the same as 1, equals 3/6. Here's another example. 1/2 times 4/3. Is 4/3 more than 1, less than 1, or equal to 1? 4/3 is more than 1 because it's a top-heavy fraction. So will we end up with more than half or less than half? We're going to end up with a fraction that is greater than 1/2. What is our answer when you multiply straight across? Our answer is going to be 4/6. And here's what that looks like. This has more shaded in. It has this piece right here. So here we know that 1/2 is greater than 2/6. 1/2 is equal to 3/6, and 1/2 is less than 4/6. Because we multiplied this one by a fraction that's less than 1, this fraction is equal to 1, and this fraction is greater than 1, showing in our pictures of what's shaded in. Now, find part 3 in your workbook. You're going to complete the equations. Then you'll shade the diagrams to show the starting fraction and the ending fraction. Read problem A. 2/5 times 1/2. Write the answer, then fix up the diagrams to show the starting fraction and the ending fraction. You're just going to shade in those fractions to show. So, what is 2/5 times 1/2? 2/5 times 1/2 equals 2/10. This is what it should look like once you shaded it in. So which is greater? 2/5 is greater than 2/10 because you're multiplying by a number that is less than 1, which is shown here. This has more shaded in than this side. Problem B. 2/5 times 3/2. What is 2/5 times 3/2? 2/5 times 3/2 equals 6/10. So show that in and show me which is greater with the alligator mouth. Problem B should look like this. 2/5 is less than 6/10. Notice this is a top-heavy fraction, meaning our answer is going to be more than 1, more than what we started with. 2 out of 5 is shaded in here, and 6 out of 10 is shaded in here. Which has more? 6 out of 10, proving our answer. Now, problem C. 2/5 times 2/2. What's the answer? 2/5 times 2/2 equals 4/10. So, what do we multiply 2/5 by? 2/2, which equals 1. So is our answer going to be greater than, equal to, or less than? Our answer is going to be equal to, because 2/5 times 2/2 equals 4/10. Notice here, same amount is shaded in. Now, let's switch over to unit conversion. All right. Unit conversion. These are facts you'll use to work problems that change one unit into a related unit. I'll repeat. These are facts you'll use to work problems that change one unit into a related unit. Problem A. Change 64 ounces into pounds. So, what fact here relates to problem A? Problem A says change 64 ounces into pounds. Here, on our fourth one, we have 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So, change O. So, set that up. Problem B. Change 16 days into hours. Which one does that match up to? Right here, 1 day is 24 hours. Days and hours, days and hours. Ounces and pounds, ounces and pounds. Problem C, change 160 ounces into pounds. Ounces and pounds, ounces and pounds. Next one, problem D, change 24 years into months. Years, months. 1 year is 12 months. Change 24 years into months. So let's go back to problem A. Change 64 ounces into pounds. Look at the fact. Are there more ounces or pounds here on our fact? We have more ounces. So what do you do to end up with ounces? You're going to multiply by 16. What do you do to end up with pounds? You're going to divide by 16. Now, look at our problem. Are we ending up with ounces, meaning multiply, or are we ending up with pounds, meaning divide? We're ending up with pounds. So we're going to divide 64 by 16. And what does 64 divided by 16 equal? 4 pounds. Don't forget to label your answer. Next, problem B. Change 16 days into hours. Look at the fact. Are there more days or hours? Right here, one day is 24 hours. There are more hours than there are days. So what do you do to end up with days? You divide by 24. What do you do to end up with hours? You multiply by 24. Now, let's look at the problem. What are we trying to end up with? We're trying to end up with hours. We're changing days into hours. So, are we going to multiply 16 by 24 or divide 16 by 24? We are going to multiply 16 by 24. 16 days into 24 hours. Pause the video now to work the problem. Here's what you should have ended up with. 384 hours. Make sure you're labeling. Now let's go to problem C. Problem C says change 160 ounces into pounds. Work problem C. Remember, find the fact and figure out if you multiply or divide. Pause the video now to work the problem for problem C. The equation for problem C that you should have worked is 160 divided by 16, because we're turning ounces into pounds. We're going backwards from ounces to pounds. So 160 divided by 16. And what does 160 divided by 16 equal? 160 divided by 16 equals 10 pounds. There's your answer for problem C. Problem D, work the problem. Pause the video now to solve. Change 24 years into months. The problem you should have worked is, or looked at, the fact is 1 day is 24 hours. 1 year is 12 months. So you're changing 24 years into months. Years into months. You're moving forward, meaning you're going to multiply 24 times 12. And what does 24 times 12 equal? 24 times 12 equals 288 months. Label your answer. Now, continue on to the next video. Lesson 94, part 2.